Superior firepower, supersonic speed, and advanced stealth. That's what most people imagine when they hear about sixth-generation fighter jets. While many major powers are still struggling with designs on the drawing board, the Chinese, often dismissed as mere imitators, suddenly pulled ahead. The J-36 was unveiled with the promise of snapping the neck of the B-21 Raider and leaving fifth-generation fighters in the dust. But the question remains, has it truly broken through technological barriers, or is it simply another strategic propaganda move from Beijing? On May 21, 2025, President Donald Trump officially signed off on the development of America's sixth-generation fighter jet, the F-47. The project is part of the Next Generation Air Dominance (NGAD) program, initiated by the U.S. Air Force to ensure absolute control of the skies well into the 21st century. Boeing was chosen as the lead contractor, beating out a host of other aerospace giants to spearhead one of Washington's most ambitious projects in decades. According to many experts, this decision virtually guarantees the U.S. Air Force will maintain its air superiority for generations, despite the rapid rise of competitors. Yet many may have overlooked a crucial detail. In December 2024, on the very birthday of late Chairman Mao Zedong, China suddenly revealed images of its own sixth-generation fighter. Dubbed the J-36 and developed by Chengdu Aerospace Corporation, it instantly became the center of international media attention. Although still in testing, the J-36 is expected to enter service by 2030. In Beijing's strategic calculations, it would become the spearhead to directly confront America's next-generation arsenal. More than just an aircraft, the project signaled that China was ready to step out from the shadow of reliance on Russia or the West. No longer content with the label of copycat, they were positioning themselves to directly challenge Washington's technological edge. In reality, China's pursuit of America killer weapons is nothing new. As far back as the early 2000s, Beijing began developing the DF-21D, a missile dubbed the Carrier Killer, considered a serious threat to U.S. carrier strike groups in the Western Pacific. More recently, they unveiled the DF-17, a hypersonic missile capable of bypassing most modern defense systems, including Aegis and THAAD. Fighter programs like the J-20 and J-31 have also been seen as Beijing's answer to America's fifth-generation jets. Together, these efforts highlight a clear objective: steadily closing the strategic deterrence gap with their greatest rival. However, the pressure of competition has never stopped there. When the United States officially rolled out its next-generation stealth bomber, the B-21 Raider, the strategic balance once again tilted toward Washington. Unveiled at the end of 2022, the B-21 was designed with a tailless flying wing configuration, incorporating cutting-edge stealth technology that renders its radar signature virtually undetectable. With a weapons payload of up to 20,000 pounds, including nuclear bombs, bunker busters, and cruise missiles such as the JASSMIR, it can deliver devastating strikes deep into Chinese territory. What makes this aircraft even more dangerous is its operational range, nearly 6,000 miles without refueling. This means it could take off from Alaska, home to America's strategic Pacific air bases, and strike military or political centers deep inside China without facing distance constraints. If launched from Guam or Australia, the approach time would be even shorter, opening the possibility of sudden surgical strikes against high-value targets. Beyond that, the B-21 Raider has been described as a digital ghost. The bomber is capable of electronic warfare, battlefield command, and coordination with UAVs and next-generation fighters. It signals a doctrinal shift in American air power, transforming the B-21 into a multi-role weapon system that many experts call the strategic punch of the 21st century. What's more telling is that even Chinese state media has acknowledged the threat. In an analysis published on May 5th by Weapons On Board, A military journal under the China State Shipbuilding Corporation, CSIC, the B-21 Raider was described as a strategic danger, one that current fifth-generation fighters like the J-20 are simply incapable of countering. For this reason, Beijing has no choice but to develop an entirely new platform, not just to catch up, but to surpass America's technological edge. Within this context, the sixth-generation fighter program emerged as an inevitable step. Chinese leadership understands it cannot forever rely on copying or refining existing technologies. To sustain a credible balance against Washington, they must create a platform from the ground up, one that combines full-spectrum stealth, supercruise engines that eliminate afterburners, and next-generation systems such as artificial intelligence and directed energy weapons. The path from prototype to deployment is still long and fraught with risk. Yet, the birth of the J-36 underscores one undeniable reality. The race for air dominance is no longer a one-sided game owned solely by the United States. If the B-21 Raider is seen as the strategic bomber that enables Washington to maintain long-range strike superiority, then Beijing has placed its bet on a different kind of ace card, a brand new fighter. In this respect, China appears to be pulling ahead, fielding the world's first prototype of a sixth-generation jet before its rivals. More than that, the J-36 is expected to become the direct nemesis of the B-21. It is envisioned as an agile aerial shield, ready to intercept America's strategic ghost in the event of a future conflict. Since its first appearance in late 2024, the J-36 has quickly captured the attention of the global military community. In recent months, Chinese forums have been flooded with images and video clips allegedly showing prototypes of this next-generation fighter. Although Beijing has issued no official confirmation, the level of detail in these leaks has already allowed analysts to sketch out the J-36's early design features, the PLA Air Force's secret trump card. The first striking aspect is its overall shape. Unlike traditional fighters, the J-36 is built around a tailless delta wing configuration, combined with a slimmer canard design compared to the J-20. Eliminating the vertical stabilizers, a hallmark of previous generations of fighters, significantly reduces radar cross-section while improving aerodynamic efficiency. It's a breakthrough design that echoes the aerodynamic philosophy of the YF-23, an American prototype abandoned in the 1990s, yet still regarded as one of the most advanced designs of its era. Observers have also noted elements carried over from the J-31, but taken to the next level, from extensive use of composite materials to multi-layer stealth coatings. Its smooth surfaces and precisely engineered edges suggest that Chinese engineers have moved closer than ever to meeting the standards of a true sixth-generation fighter. Satellite imagery captured at the Yanliang test base has further reinforced this assessment. On the runway, analysts spotted an airframe larger than the F-35 but smaller than the B-21 Raider, featuring diamond-shaped wings and a visible belly weapons bay beneath protective coverings. The most hotly debated detail is the oversized bubble canopy, covering the entire cockpit and allowing two pilots to sit side by side. This configuration is extremely rare in modern fighter design, though not without precedent. In the past, the United States fielded the F-111, while Russia developed the Su-34 fullback, both employing similar layouts. This choice suggests that China may be pursuing a new combat philosophy. The lead pilot would focus on flying and air combat, while the second pilot could manage UAV operations or oversee electronic warfare systems. In modern warfare, the coordination of multiple assets, fighters, drones, naval forces, and ground units, is crucial. A side-by-side cockpit would essentially transform the J-36 into a miniature airborne command center. At the air intake, the J-36 appears to use trapezoidal inlets mounted high on the fuselage, reminiscent of the F-22. This design improves engine efficiency while reducing radar cross-section from the frontal aspect. The tail section is even more unusual. The J-36 seems to employ three jet engines with flat exhaust nozzles and without diverterless supersonic inlets (DSI). Such a configuration is almost unheard of in today's fighters. It indicates that China may be prioritizing speed and payload capacity. However, experts have raised concerns about stealth performance. Three engines mean more exhaust outlets, demanding highly sophisticated shielding and exhaust treatment to minimize infrared signatures. This challenge becomes especially critical when facing advanced IRST infrared search and track systems already integrated into the F-35 and Europe's next-generation fighters. Toward the nose, the J-36 appears to house a large radar dome, supplemented by dual electro-optical infrared sensors on either side. It is likely equipped with a next-generation radar capable of tracking dozens of targets simultaneously. With this configuration, the J-36 could serve as an eye in the sky, conducting electronic warfare while sharing real-time data across joint forces. If these observations prove accurate, they represent a major leap over its predecessors, moving the aircraft closer to the sixth-generation fighter concept currently being pursued by the US and Europe. Close-up shots also reveal not only a central weapons bay, but two additional side bays. This design carries major implications. The main bay is likely intended for long-range missiles or large guided bombs, while the side bays are suitable for air-to-air missiles and smaller precision-guided munitions. In effect, the J-36 combines the qualities of a heavy fighter with the tactical strike role of a miniature bomber. This point has led many experts to suggest the J-36 may be a direct descendant of the rumored JHX regional bomber project. Still, not everyone is fully convinced. Some analysts have flagged anomalies in the leaked images. Areas around the intakes and the tail appear blurred, possibly due to editing or deliberate lighting camouflage. Certain sections, such as the landing gear, also seem intentionally obscured. Overall, however, multiple pieces of evidence support the leak's authenticity. Background features match the infrastructure at Chengdu Aircraft Corporation's facilities, the site widely believed to be at the heart of J-36 development. Observers have even identified newly built shelters and engine test stands there, suggesting a large-scale development program is underway. So the hardest question remains: what exactly is the J-36? Is it a sixth-generation fighter to compete with the US NGAD, or a tactical stealth bomber? The likeliest answer may be both. It appears to be more than a conventional fighter. It embodies a fundamentally different air combat doctrine. In this doctrine, the platform would shoulder both interceptor roles and long-range strike duties simultaneously. Its mere emergence, real or staged, has already applied psychological pressure on Washington and its allies. More importantly, J-36 is being touted as a potential nemesis to the B-21, capable of reshaping the strategic balance in the Western Pacific. Yet for now, the J-36 remains an enigma. Everything rests on leaked photos and speculative analysis. There has been no publicly confirmed flight test, nor official specifications from Beijing. Still, the aircraft's very existence, true or fabricated, is giving rivals sleepless nights. Once validated, the J-36 could become the critical piece that ushers the PLA Air Force into a new era. If the US B-21 Raider demonstrates America's dominance in long-range strike capability, the J-36 reflects China's ambition to build an aerial shield in response. The prototype's appearance is a strategic message from Beijing. They don't want to remain a follower. They intend to be a rule-maker in 21st-century air power competition. First, the J-36 signals a shift from an anti-access area denial A-2AD posture toward countering long-range strike. For more than 2 decades, China has primarily relied on ballistic missiles, layered air defenses, and 4+ generation fighters like the J-11 and J-16 to keep the US at bay near its waters. But against long-range stealth platforms such as the B-21, which can operate from forward bases in the Western Pacific and penetrate layered defenses. Beijing needs an entirely new class of asset capable of active suppression and interdiction. The J-36, with superior range and combat capabilities, is hoped to become a trident tip for that mission. Second, a next-generation aircraft yields psychological and political leverage in deterrence. Where Chinese fighters were once dismissed as Russian or Western derivatives, the J-36, at least in image and propaganda, is being presented as an original national achievement. Introducing a sixth-generation prototype before Washington can shift strategic confidence dramatically. That matters most in flashpoints such as Taiwan, the South China Sea, and the Sea of Japan. Theaters where reputation and psychological deterrence can matter as much as raw weapons counts. Third, the J-36 could become the nucleus of China's integrated, multi-domain air strategy. Its capacity to control and coordinate supporting UAVs, work with satellites, and interface with electronic warfare systems would allow a single aircraft, far from being lone hunter-killer, to act as a compact airborne command node. If operated correctly, a J-36 squadron could control an operational area thousands of kilometers wide, forcing the United States onto the defensive in intervention scenarios. However, the significance of this new fighter extends beyond the aircraft itself to the reaction it forces from the U.S. The appearance of the J-36 would pressure the Pentagon to accelerate its sixth-generation fighter program within the NGAD framework. Over the long term, it could also become a lever for China in defense diplomacy. Beijing has previously exported fighters such as the J-10 and JF-17, and soon possibly the J-31. Even if the J-36 is never sold abroad, proving the platform's capabilities would be enough to promote China's defense industrial strength, reinforcing the image of a great power that can compete with the United States at the highest echelons of modern air power. While leaked images of the J-36 have inflamed public confidence on the mainland, international observers take a more cautious view. Behind the modern lines, the aircraft still faces entrenched technical and strategic constraints, obstacles Beijing is unlikely to overcome overnight. The greatest challenge, and a long-standing weakness of China's military aviation sector, is the engine. Under modern combat doctrine, a next-generation fighter needs not only heavy firepower, but also long-range expeditionary capability. That forces the aircraft to carry large amounts of fuel and to operate with extreme efficiency. The solution sought by Russia, the US, and European makers is an advanced engine powerful enough to sustain supercruise. That is, supersonic cruise without afterburner. This approach shortens maneuvering time and significantly extends combat radius, a goal the Chinese clearly also pursue. They want a platform that can fly long ranges and maintain a persistent presence in critical areas. However, the fact that the J-36 appears to use 3 jet engines reflects the reality that China has not yet developed an engine powerful and efficient enough to meet requirements with only 2, as is common elsewhere. A sixth-generation fighter forced to rely on a stopgap 3-engine solution to achieve the required thrust raises serious questions about technological maturity. Moreover, a 3-engine layout increases structural weight, airframe stress, and, critically, challenges for thermal stealth. More engines mean more exhaust outlets and higher infrared emissions, making the J-36 more susceptible to detection by next-generation IR sensors fielded by the US and its allies. Absent a breakthrough in cooling and infrared signature suppression technologies, the B-21's purported nemesis could instead become a blazing target on an adversary's displays. The next issue lies in aerodynamic design. The J-36 is believed to employ a flying wing configuration, a shape that reduces radar signature and improves long-range efficiency. However, this design is notoriously difficult to control. Without tailplanes or vertical stabilizers, the aircraft's in-flight stability is severely compromised. To keep the jet balanced, The entire wing surface must rely on avionics and computer-based fly-by-wire systems. That means even a software glitch, or worse, enemy electronic warfare interference, could push the J-36 into total loss of control. Given that China has yet to prove absolute reliability in its newest fly-by-wire systems, this risk cannot be overlooked. Another challenge is range and large-scale deployment capability. Even if the J-36 can carry significant fuel, its combat effectiveness still depends heavily on aerial refueling support. In reality, this is one of the People's Liberation Army Air Force's most critical weaknesses. Its current tanker fleet is both outdated and undersized, based largely on converted H-6 bombers with limited reach. Although China has begun developing a tanker variant of the Y-20, it will likely take at least another decade before reaching the scale required. In the meantime, China's biggest constraint remains the sheer number of tankers available and their operational experience. The refueling force is far too thin, and joint operations training remains limited, making sustained long-range sorties highly uncertain. This limitation means that while the J-36 may achieve impressive theoretical range, its ability to maintain a persistent presence in strategic theaters like the Western Pacific will remain heavily restricted. At present, the new aircraft can be seen as China's bold declaration in the skies of the 21st century. It symbolizes the rapid transformation of its defense industry and serves as a powerful propaganda tool to project its ambition in the global contest for air power leadership against Washington. Yet, the gap between a leaked prototype and a fully operational fighter capable of going head-to-head with the B-21 or F-22 remains vast. The J-36 may be the dazzling focal point of public attention today, but whether it will become a true milestone in military aviation history is a question only the future can answer.